Okay. Okay, so this is kind of an updated video for Twitch and YouTube on using Node Noggin. So yeah, Node Noggin is a free Libra open source piece of software that allows you to co-create ideas together with fellow designers, fellow makers, and we've been creating this piece of software in the design studios at Winchester School of Art, and using that as a space where we get students and staff together to have this co-creation space to play and tinker around with ideas in real time together, and it augments this physical studio space. Yes, you can use it remotely, but you'd want to use it using like a video call tool as well. So this is the main site, which is Node Noggin, which is node nogg.in, and here you can join the community, so you can discuss and debate on our Discord or our discourse forum. You can obviously launch the app. You can watch some YouTube development videos and guides on how the thing's being made, so you can get more detail on that. You can obviously donate to the project, and either a one-off payment or a support, and you can follow the blogs and things that are related to this, because I'm writing about this project and some of the design choices behind it and how it's worked and what we've done with it as part of a part-time PhD that encompasses this idea of community, co-creation, playful spaces that respect privacy, and those kind of things. So obviously at first glance, when you look at some of these interfaces, and the visuals you'll see in a minute are somewhere between the sort of two of these, and this is kind of where we're heading. It can feel a lot like a Padlet or Miro or some of those other sort of board-based collaboration tools. The first thing to know is that the way that we house the data is really important in terms of it's decentralized. Secondly, there's no collection of any data in terms of like your browser, your computer, your IP address, and there certainly is no collection of data to use or to remix or to do other things within in service of the app. So that's really important. So you can inspect the code, you can run your own version of this if you want to. It's still quite technical to do that, but hopefully we're going to make that easier. And I'm going to talk about some of the manifestations of this version, and what the specifics of that are. But again, as the project sort of carries on, and I'm hoping to write this all up for summer 2021, but as the project's being updated regularly, you'll start to see options where you'll be able to choose some options that make the data even more private. So I'm going to talk about some of the caveats in this version with that regard. So I'm just going to click Launch App, and this takes us into the onboarding microcosm. So a microcosm is a space where you can work together, and in this instance, this is actually the onboarding one. And every time you want to kind of start to thrash out an idea, you can do that through creating a microcosm. So when you get to this point, what you do need to do is you need to give yourself a name, and then you need to decide which microcosm you're going to join. Both of those pieces of data are stored as local storage. So that is what is stored on your machine. So the name and the microcosm you want to connect to are stored on your machine, and then the nodes that you create are also stored on your machine. And that's done in two ways. One's with local storage, and then the other is with something called PouchDB, which is a local JSON style database that is stored in your browser. Now, for you to work with other people, obviously you need to synchronize your data with them. And so it's still your data, it's still on your device, but you then, when you're connecting to other people, you then synchronize between those devices. At this point, what we use then is a CouchDB instance to manage that synchronization. So your pouches on the various computers or devices would talk to the couch that would then share that between all the devices. But the data is always on your device. And unless you go in specifically with a particular way of going in and deleting the pouch DB, it is always on your device first, and then is synchronized to other devices through CouchDB. Now at the moment, that data isn't encrypted, and the CouchDB that exists is just one CouchDB, which I'm running when you connect to Node Noggin. You can have a local CouchDB, so it could be on someone else's machine, and so then it's completely a local connection, so you don't need to go to the cloud, out to the internet in that sense. Or you could run your own, but at the moment you can't choose where that is. It's by default, this version points to that one place, and like I said, that data isn't encrypted. Now, one thing to note that's very different to a lot of the other applications is what you call yourself. There's no accounts. We haven't got any logins. What you call yourself is completely anonymous, always is. And that's become really important, especially when you're working with a group of people in terms of like your contributions are anonymous. At some point they might realize you're the one contributing those things, but to begin with, it's quite free. And we've done a number of workshops where we've been, thrashing out sort of what have you got to do this week? What's your biggest worries? What's your biggest concerns? What's the thing that most excites you? And it really frees up those conversations when it's not possible to tell who's making those comments if you're all working and co-creating, to make different things, but on a common path. And so this is never shared. And again, you'll see other things will share that and use their accounts and whatever. So in here, I can just give myself a name, and I can hit store. And I'm going to go through this onboarding process again in another browser, just so we've got a few things working together. There's obviously some tips here, and we're going to have a help microcosm that will also go through some more things. And then I'm going to create or rejoin an existing microcosm. So now I've got a name, I can join or create an existing microcosm or a new microcosm. Whoops. So if you knew which one you were going to join, you could obviously put that in here. So I'm going to just create a new test microcosm. It also gives you a hint there that if you wanted to share this, you could actually just add /microcosm/ and then the name of your microcosm and share that with other people. And if they've used Node Noggin before, and so they've named themselves or their device, then it would take them straight into that microcosm without them having to do anything. So I'm going to call this, what we're doing, Twitch test 4, just so I can remember how to get into it in a minute. And I can click create or rejoin. So if you're working in a studio, you would just tell everyone, go to this URL and join Twitch test 4. A tip is probably to keep it all lowercase with no spaces. The spaces definitely do cause some issues, I believe. So I click create or rejoin, and in this instance that didn't exist. So it's a brand new empty space for me to work with. Now I can use this toolbar at the bottom to create nodes, to move them around, to pan around the screen, to make connections. I can even scribble on top of them, although that scribble mode is only available on touch devices and isn't saved. I can actually upload and put into my nodes local files, and I'll show you some of that as well as we go through. And then if I want to finish, say I wanted to go to another microcosm, I would hit this exit. If I don't, I will always take me back to this microcosm. So this is my default one. Again, if your browser has has much more aggressive sort of clearing of local storage, those kind of things, then you'll get back to the onboarding screen. To reconnect, it would be a case of entering in the same details you did before, your unique name that you've decided upon, and then obviously the name of the microcosm, and that would enable you to come back to the same place and edit those nodes that you'd worked on before. I'm just going to create a few new nodes, so we can see they're here. I've also got these keyboard shortcuts, so I can press N and I can really quickly create a load of nodes. Okay, if I want to move around, I can press the M key. I can move around and zoom in and out. If I press back to the A or the S key, I can then move these around. So those keyboard shortcuts are very similar to some you may have used in apps like Photoshop and those kind of creation tools. Obviously the N key is just a really quick way to create those new nodes. I can type into here and it will save every so often. It's saving all of that data and synchronizing it with multiple devices, or the devices that are connected. And let's just, if I hit read mode as well, that will turn off the editing, so I can actually put markdown into here. And you can see now that's being formatted with that in mind. I can also add in like URLs and links. And again, this is markdown, so it's 2 square brackets for the link text. And then 2, square, I'm typing too fast. 2 rounded brackets. Whoops. 2 for the URL. So what you see there, sometimes it's synchronizing when I'm typing, so I missed out a couple of letters. It's got which is not right. Okay, there you go, link. You can also add in like images. So if you've got a URL, for example, of why have I got no matching snippets? Okay, so if I wanted to do an image, let's check that, that's weird. I would actually add in an exclamation mark at the beginning, and then if I paste into here the link to an image, it will then put that in. So I've got an image of a wolf. So if I take this image link and paste that into here and hit read mode, you can now see there's a little wolf image from the Encyclopedia Britannica. All right, let me switch to another browser just so you can see the onboarding process. So one of the things with getting ideas down is you just got to be able to do it quick. If there's the barrier to getting your idea in, it can actually be just as important. You know, that's why a lot of people just like to use pen and paper. That's why a lot of device and things get in the way. So the idea again is that if you load this page up, the first thing it does, it jumps into focus into the name. So I can type in the name of my device. I can hit enter to store that. If I press tab, it will take me to the microcosm name, and then I can type in the same microcosm, hit enter, and what it will do is it will take me to that space. So now I'm here with those other nodes that's been created. The shortcut things is just for me individually, so again it can be in different places depending on how you like, where you want it, and you can obviously hide it yourself. What I can also do is I can, like, if I like the idea that someone's got, we can get people to sort of use emojis to sort of, you know, thumbs up or thumbs down those things. We can obviously move each other's things around. I can create some new ones in here. So if I create another, and again I can use those keyboard shortcuts. So I'm just putting something in each of these. I'm going to switch back to my main browser. Okay. If I want to upload an image, I can also do that by clicking this little upload icon here. So what that does is that actually will upload any file to IPFS, which is the Interplanetary File System. So that there's a version of that running in the background, and that is it's a decentralized file store. So once I upload this, it will then get spread from peer to peer. And so as long as there's at least one peer that holds it, that data can never be lost. So I've got an image here, but it could be a document. If it's a document, you would want to format the markdown to be a link so that it links to the hash of that image. But what I've done is I've set it so that by default it works best with images in terms of speed. So I can click that image, which is a cool illustration from a Firefox thing I saw recently. That then uploads it in the background. And then at some point, if I want to use the last thing I've uploaded, I can click this little down icon here. And that will then grab that last thing I uploaded and then copies it onto your clipboard in the format for an image. So I can just paste that in to one of my nodes. And if I go to read mode here, you can see that it's now got that image. Okay, so obviously, if you've got a lot of people, if you've got maybe 10, 20 students or whatever working on here, it starts to get quite busy. And the way that we've done it is, you have a lot of students sort of on their own devices, adding in pieces of information. We have this on the sort of big screen so we can get it as big as possible, and you can zoom out quite a way and start to see things. The canvas is unlimited, but there are some limitations at the moment just that I need to iron out. What we've also found is that initially, the first sort of phase of collecting ideas together is that you just want to get them rapidly into the system. And so a lot of people then will use the mobile view, which is just very basic at this point. It doesn't show you any of the images. You can just paste stuff in, and you can really quickly just create more nodes in this sort of linear fashion. And we kind of refer to that as kind of a bucket mode. So you can just throw your stuff in. So you're collecting stuff into your bucket, and then you'll notice in the spatialized UI that those will just sort of stack up here. So if I add in a few, just so we can see them, you'll see these just start to stack in this corner. So then what happens is that we then might want to start to cluster these into different things. We might turn more of them into read mode, so we can make them a bit smaller. And again, the idea is that we'll be able to collapse these into icons as well, which you might have noticed in the first link. And then if there's any ideas that we don't want, we can hit discard. We're going to discard our own. They're not deleted, they're actually just stored in this discarded pile. So if we go there, this is a really unstyled view, and because there was no text, you can see that there's nothing there other than the 3 restore buttons. So if I restore one of those, I'll just show you. It's now come back. So this is restore. So then if I discard that, go to here, you can see that's that first node. And then I'm going to make these more into little cards on here. And again, you can just quickly restore that. So we can discard and restore. And that's obviously just for our own nodes. And then what we can do is we can start to connect these. So I can hit the C key on the keyboard. And again, for those who want to know, we've got Pixie.js WebGL running for all these connections and these buttons. And we can sort of now start to drag out connections between nodes. So if we, and again, if we're working together, you can see these connections being created in real time. When you're moving these objects around, you can see them being manipulated and moved in real time. The pan and zoom view is just for you. So if I zoom right out, like on the big screen, then that would only be, everyone could see it from the big screen. Or if I just stayed in the mobile view, I'd only see like my ones or whatever. So if I then move these around, what you'll notice is that once they get moved, the connections jump to the top right of these, and you can continue creating more connections as you see fit. And you can create them without without jumping, so you can connect a couple there, and then once they get moved, you'll see that it sort of jumps, which is then start to show those connections. One thing you'll notice is that if someone makes multiple connections, say I'm connecting blah to this wolf, say I'm connecting blah to this wolf a lot. So I could do that again. I could press C, I could drag to the, the button, I can drag to the wolf if the button appears. Let me just move the wolf. Might be off the edge. Yeah. So there's a few drawing issues with the canvas. So look, if I pull this right over, you see the line no longer follows me. So I need to look into that. But if I do a C here, yeah, and you can see it's jumping off the edges a little bit there. If I was to draw another one from blah to the wolf, there is now 2 connections, yeah? So, but once I move one of these, you'll notice that the line obviously jumps to this top corner, and then it does that again. So there are 2 connections, you just can't see them. We just haven't got a visualization of those connections in place yet. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you a little rundown of the latest version. See what you think. Go and have a play. Obviously, it's designed to work multiplayer, with friends. That's really the idea. So if you're, thrashing out an idea together, then, feel free to use this as a place to do that. And of course, feedback is welcome. So you can either leave it on a YouTube link that I'll create, or you can go to the the discourse forum and add stuff there, or you can join the Discord and chat there. It's completely up to you. And again, if you just visit Node Noggin, then you've got these options to join the community here, both Discord, discourse, and of course the code is also available for you to read, contribute to, that kind of stuff. So yeah,